How's it going, everyone? Today we're going to be looking over the changes to Cartethyia that Kuro has made, as well as the issues that have still persisted ever since her release. Now, I have voiced my opinion about this in my posts on my channel, but it is better if I actually do like a voiceover for it, so we can actually see what's going on and more people can see what's been happening the past week or so. Now, we'll be showing you some gameplay of me kind of showing you some of these issues. Like, there are some fixes that have been fixed already thanks to Kuro, but there is a still issue or two that still persists with Cartethyia that could really use some addressing. So we're going to be looking into that as well as the changes that were made. For the very first part of the issues, fixes an issue where the buff crit damage is increased granted upon activating the first node of Resonator Cartethyia. Resonance Chain Crown Destined by Fate may fail to take effect when certain skills from Resonator Fleurdelys hit targets. Now, the big issue with this was that in Fleurdelys, the crit damage that you received, depending on how much resolve you had, aka how much energy you ended up gaining, was very inconsistent. Now we're going to summarize this a little bit easier, but it says here when Fleurdelys's conviction hits 30, 90, 60, 120, etc., the crit damage she receives is increased by 25% for 15 seconds up to 4 stacks. Now, a better way to actually word this would be for every, let's just say, 30% of your energy meter that is filled as Fleurdelys, you gain a stack. I will show more gameplay footage, but as you can see here in the footage, this is 1 stack, and now this is 2. See, the more of your energy meter is filled, the more stacks you gain there, up to a total of 4. And then once you have 4, you have 100 extra crit damage at S1. Now, as I am aware, the only way you can actually tell how much you have is to see the indication above the forte meter. Before, you used to see it in the Cartethyia character menu. Let me see if I can pop that up for you real quick. Now, as cool as this is, you could actually go into the character menu while the buffs are up, and you could actually see crazy numbers like this with your... This is the crit rate with Shorekeeper and the crit damage with Shorekeeper as well. But it does give you quite a lot of crit damage if you could actually see it in the character menu. But the issue is, now that that has been fixed, the only way that you can tell how much crit damage you actually have will be based on the stack meter that has been indicated above the forte meter now. Now, I do wish that there was a better indication than this, because I did actually like how it was before, where you could actually check to see how much crit damage you actually had. Like, it's just like a cool little thing to see, like, so much numbers. But it is what it is. But you do have to kind of squint now sometimes, and some people might be away from their TV a little bit, and, you know, it can be kind of, you know, it's the icon's a little bit too small. I don't really like it like that. But it is what it is, and we're gonna have to kind of deal with it unless they want to change their decision or make a special indication. It is what it is. But there is also something that you do need to be warned about. You see these stacks of the crit damage that Fleurdelys gets, they are not independent buffs. They all share the same exact timer. So what that means is, because they all share the exact same timer, as soon as you get your very first stack of your crit damage, the timer begins. So that means you have 15 seconds to gain 4 stacks and do your liberation within that 15-second window. And as you can see there, because I wasn't paying attention to that meter down at the very bottom, I ended up hitting the final liberation just as the stacks fell off, because I do kind of get confused sometimes that I do have about 5 seconds to actually do the liberation for the maximum amount of damage. So if that does fall off and then you do your liberation, it will hit a lot less, because usually I think I hit around 200k roughly whenever I do the liberation, and that time it only did about 150k. So you know, it is quite the dip in damage if you mistime it, so you do have to pay very close attention to that. So please keep that in mind for whenever you're ramping up Fleurdelys's energy and getting all those crit damage stacks. You do have to be very careful, and you do have to do that within about 5 seconds once you completely max it out, because it does really hurt your damage quite a bit if you do mistime that and the stacks fall off. Now for the second issue that is still currently in this game, it has been fixed quite a few times. I like to call it shadow patched. That's just my word for it. Now when I say shadow patch, what I mean is, so originally with the S2, when you meleeed or you did a attack with Fleurdelys, you would add 3 stacks of erosion to the enemy at S2, but that is also assuming that you have the 3 sword buffs active when you do it, and you transition into Fleurdelys when you have max energy with Cartethyia, and you get that cutscene. Originally, when I say shadow patched, is originally for the first few days of when Cartethyia was out, the S2 was bugged and would not add stacks to the enemies. So right now they do have 3 stacks of erosion, and when I hit them with a melee, it added an extra 3 to give them 6 stacks. Now originally this was not how it worked. So originally when you did it this way, it would not add 3 extra stacks to the enemy. So it was quite bugged and practically broken at the time. Now thankfully that has been fixed, but this was not told to anyone, and I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that that was an actual issue and just it wasn't addressed, but it's fixed, so what can we do about it? Now, there is an issue still wrong with S2 that they still haven't fixed that I am going to show you visually so you can actually see it happen in real time.
Be gone, wicked souls! Such is their destiny. True form, revealed at last. A mere scratch upon my blade.
Now, if we were paying attention there, you can notice that the jump attack does not add 3 stacks from the S2 sequence. Now, we are going to take a look at it so we can actually see what it says here. So from the beginning, it does say that when you do transform into Fleurdelys using the cutscene, so when her energy is full, on targets within a certain range by 3 stacks, the next attack that directly damages the target inflicts 3 stacks of error erosion on all targets within a certain range and immediately triggers the error erosion damage. Now, as you can see, we did try it a few times. We did reset the run and try doing a few jump attacks to see if it actually worked, and it didn't. So this is still currently bugged. It does actually directly damage them when you jump. So when you jump, she does do a slash up into the air and does give them damage. So this is kind of bugged, because this does also mean that if you happen to do a jump attack when you switch to Fleurdelys, you will completely miss the window to add 3 erosion stacks to the enemy. Because the jump attack is still registered as a attack, it does kind of trick the system into thinking that you already did add the 3 stacks of erosion. So when you do any other attack afterwards, it doesn't add any stacks of erosion. So be very, very careful when transforming to Fleurdelys if you have S2, because it is still kind of buggy if you jump. So until they fix that, just be very careful and don't jump when you switch to Fleurdelys, otherwise the stacks won't apply, and you know, it's kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. And of course the very last issue that was also part of the S1 and S6 kind of debacle. The big issue was that Cartethyia in her base form had the opportunity to activate these buffs that were only allowed to happen during Fleurdelys's form. So for example, if you ended up doing certain skills or certain attacks, Cartethyia would actually trigger the crit damage buff and give herself crit damage, which was kind of hilarious, and I didn't actually notice that, so that was actually pretty funny. And with that, we're gonna be ending with the video. That was actually quite a long video. I didn't expect it to go for that long, but I will be working on the simple guide, so expect that on Monday, fingers crossed, with all the issues that has been happening with my PC, with the crashing, the blue screen of death, the heavy cost to actually get it fixed, and on top of that I lost all of my photos, my videos, my data. Like, it's just been such a big headache, so I'm so sorry for holding you guys up on that. It's been really torturing for me as well. But now that everything's fixed, I can get back on schedule and showing you guys videos again. If you made it this far, thank you so much guys, and until next time, thank you all for watching.